This is the Highly Sensitive Club, episode number 75.
Have you been told you're too sensitive, too dramatic, or too much? Do you have big feelings and deep thoughts you don't always know what to do with? I'm Stephanie Linn, a certified life coach and highly sensitive person. I've helped dozens of highly sensitive clients feel more energized, more confident, and more in control of their high sensitivity. In these episodes, you'll get the information and inspiration to level up your life as a highly sensitive person too. Welcome to the Highly Sensitive Club.
Hello, highly sensitive person, and welcome to this week's episode of the Highly Sensitive Club. This week's episode completes my series of 3 episodes that began with episode 73, Clean Slate Energy Anytime, Anywhere, continued with how to have the most beneficial evaluations ever, and concludes with celebrating with so much excitement and purpose and feeling it in your body. I am really excited about today's topic because I know a lot of highly sensitive people who are high achievers, who are very interested in accomplishments, in moving forward, completing tasks, and growing and reaching our next levels. I also know a lot of highly sensitive people who have a lot of perfectionism because those high standards can be something that we use against ourselves. If we don't reach those heights, we stop ourselves from trying it in the first place. Many of us have areas of our lives where we have stopped dreaming big and we've stopped trying because we didn't take the time to celebrate when things went well. We didn't own it and soak it in. We got disappointed and had intense emotions come up when things didn't go well. So celebrating is a practice I want you to intentionally build into your day. Whether you do a celebration for any task or growth moment or win that you want to acknowledge, that's wonderful. I also want to acknowledge that it adds on from the previous 2 steps. When you can give yourself forgiveness and start with a clean slate, no matter what the situation was, you open yourself up to evaluate what happened and extract the juice from any situation. Once you have the juice, you either celebrate overcoming something that was in your way, or you celebrate the success and the win that you created with your mind and taking inspired action. When you skip celebrating and you move on to the next thing, not only do you get into hustle mode where you're constantly moving, taking action, and you're getting stuck in the productivity cycle or in the busyness cycle, you also create imposter syndrome for yourself too. When you don't take the time to celebrate your wins and soak them in and own them, you tell yourself stories like you just got lucky, it was a fluke, you depended on other people to make this happen, you feel like a fraud, and that other people just haven't caught on yet. This is not the case. When you're not celebrating, it builds this imposter complex and it keeps your emotional capacity stunted. It holds you back because you're keeping yourself from building that self-trust, from building that belief in yourself, and the confidence that comes from acknowledging things that have gone well. This is when you reinvent the wheel and you're trying new things without stopping to consider what worked and what didn't work. This means you are doing a lot of activity and a lot of busy work, but it might not be getting you where you want it to be. It keeps you from being able to feel all of your emotions, positive and negative. Your ability to feel emotions is directly proportional to its equal and opposite emotion. If you have trouble feeling negative emotions, that's also going to keep you from feeling positive ones. If you have trouble feeling joy or excitement and positive emotions, that's also going to make it more difficult for you to sit with those uncomfortable emotions as well. Your emotional capacity is well-rounded. It's a sphere. It grows in all directions and they're not mutually exclusive. They're part of the same system. When you don't celebrate, you stop yourself from feeling the positive emotions, which again also makes it difficult for you to feel the negative emotions. It keeps you in this constant fight or flight state where you're just trying to avoid feeling uncomfortable or not feel anything at all. Celebration is not toxic positivity. It's not trying to cover over things that didn't go well and to turn them into a win when you don't genuinely feel like they are. When you have made a mistake or things didn't go as expected and you want to acknowledge that, you don't want to say, oh, everything's great. That is toxic positivity. I have a whole episode on that I will put into the show notes. This is not trying to convince yourself that something went better than it actually did. You can still acknowledge things that didn't go well while celebrating the wins of what did go well. You don't have to be in this black or white either or state. You can have both. And that keeps you out of the toxic positivity of trying to go all into, oh, everything's a win, everything's great, because then you don't get to extract the lessons from evaluating. Celebration is also not magical thinking. Magical thinking says, oh, everything's going to be fine without any effort on your part, without any intention or energy. And celebration is not forcing yourself to believe something. I am not asking you to go from a 1 to a 10. I talk about this a lot on this podcast, that oftentimes it's those steps in between that are actually more powerful because they build consistency and they build proof for you. I'm not asking you to say, oh, I am the greatest in the world. I'm asking you to say, I did something that worked this time. I'm excited about that. Whether it's a small accomplishment or a big accomplishment, you are genuinely believing that you deserve to acknowledge the efforts and results that you've created, because it wasn't a fluke, it wasn't luck, and it wasn't outside of your control. You contributed to this situation, even if it was putting yourself in the right place at the right time. I love the saying that luck is preparation meets opportunity. We think that luck is this outside force that we don't have any control over, but it is something that you can prepare for. It's something that you can visualize, you can take actions, you can feel ready for something so that when the opportunity arises, you are ready to go. You are not forcing yourself to celebrate when you don't believe it. You're allowing yourself to celebrate each step of the way so that it compounds over time. Here are all the benefits of celebrating. And this is a big deal for you, highly sensitive person, because I think in our society, we discount celebrations. We think that celebration makes us arrogant. I would love for you to go back and listen to the episode about how humility is overrated. This is a favorite of mine that I will put in the show notes because I feel very strongly that having pride is not arrogance. Celebrating moves you closer to your goals. I was just reading this amazing book called The Source by Tara Swart. She talks about how we think that negative emotions fuel us to take action and to improve, when in actuality, it's our positive emotions and our positive chemicals that are the real motivators in our bodies and in our minds. The negative emotions teach us what to avoid, but they don't actually motivate us to move towards the thing we want to do, especially when there's no overt threat or deadline or urgency to it. You need those positive chemicals and those positive emotions to pull you towards the thing that you actually want in the future as your goal or your vision or your dream. There are tons of benefits to celebrating each step along the way, and this is just a small list of the benefits. Number one, it expands your emotional capacity. As I mentioned earlier, the more you're able to feel your positive emotions, the better you're able to manage and regulate your negative emotions, and vice versa. The more afraid or uncomfortable you are with either end of this spectrum, the harder it is to expand all of your emotional capacity and your emotional regulation. Celebration changes your identity and your concept of who you are. This is so crucial because if you're not celebrating your wins along the way as you're making progress towards a goal, it feels like you're not doing anything. It feels like nothing is happening, you're making no progress, and you might as well stop because you're not seeing results. When you celebrate, you step into this new version of yourself every single time you have a win. Whether that's a half win where something didn't go quite according to plan, but there are things that went well, or when it's a full win, when something went exactly as well as you hoped, or maybe even better. It changes you into someone who can believe in yourself, trust yourself, build confidence because you're compiling that evidence and that proof every step of the way. It changes you into someone who owns the qualities that you're actively working on. Celebration motivates you to do more. This is where your dopamine, oxytocin, endorphins, and serotonin come into the equation, because the primitive part of our brain wants to pursue pleasure, avoid pain, and do both of those things as easily as possible. The more you create positive experiences towards things that you're doing, especially when they're uncomfortable, the more you're helping your primitive brain feel safe and excited to pursue things that are difficult and to overcome challenges. It gets a reward every time you celebrate. Every time you acknowledge a win, you get that hit of dopamine. This is so much better than a like on a social media post, than getting an email or getting a text from someone or having acknowledgement from someone else. This is you motivating and acknowledging yourself. You're putting your body chemistry, your emotional chemistry, and your mental chemistry into moving towards the thing you want by making it fun, by making it enjoyable. That's what celebrating your wins does. Celebrating also creates results faster because it builds your momentum faster. As you can tell from the previous examples, when you acknowledge each step of the way towards your goal, you are acknowledging your progress. You're measuring things. The more you measure your progress and you can see a difference in the effort and the actions you're taking and the new thoughts and the new beliefs you're creating and thinking, the faster that momentum builds and the more you start to trust the process. When you first start, it feels really hard to imagine that you're going to meet your goal. Then as you start to move, it starts to feel more possible. It starts to feel like, okay, I can do this. I can figure this out. The more momentum you build by celebrating those wins, the faster it gets so that it seems like your goal is inevitable. This is so crucial, and it's a part that so many of us highly sensitive people skip. That's why we give up when things get hard, before we start to see tangible results. We haven't acknowledged those wins along the way, and it feels like nothing is happening. Things are always happening, and the more you celebrate, the more opportunity you give yourself to measure that along the way. Celebration makes progress feel real. This is what each of those steps is creating. When a goal feels very far away, we create this urgency, this tension, this scarcity within us to try to get the thing that we don't have that we want. If something is more immediate, it feels more real to us than something that is more conceptual, more vague, further in the future. As you're celebrating wins, you're making it real. You're making it tangible in this moment. Whether you've gotten a tangible result or whether the win is something that happened internally, you as a highly sensitive person are interested in depth and meaning. So those internal wins are frequently just as satisfying, if not more satisfying, as the external wins. Celebrating makes things real. Celebration also builds community and connection. A lot of us think that if we celebrate ourselves and if we share good things that are happening, then people are going to think we're too big for our britches, that we're arrogant, and that we feel superior to other people. So we play small. And when we play small, we don't invite people into the story that we're excited to share. We don't get to help them with our experience. We don't get to build that empathy. The more you share your wins, the more other people get to celebrate for you. I want you to think about times when someone celebrated a win. Yes, there might be some envy that has come up, but typically, especially if this is someone you care about, you get excited. You get to share in the flow of energy of the celebration and the win with someone else, regardless of whether you had a hand in the win and the success or not. Every time you celebrate, you raise everybody else's energy. When you celebrate, you also invite other people into your positive emotions, which is one of the things that highly sensitive people like us love. We love this feedback loop of positive emotions that you share with someone else. The more you celebrate, the more community and connection you can actually build with other people. Celebration helps you grow and own your wins. It is never too late for you to give yourself that clean slate and to continue to grow and improve in whatever area of your life you would like. When you own your wins and you celebrate, it helps you grow because you acknowledge the things that genuinely went well, and it gives you an example of what didn't go well so that you can try new things later. It helps motivate you to try new steps and to continue to take action instead of stalling or avoiding because you want to chase that good feeling. Good feeling builds more good feeling. Good feeling pulls you towards the thing you want. The more good feeling you have, the more opportunity you have to grow. Celebration makes failure and mistakes feel more worth it. And I say failure and mistakes with heavy quotation marks because I think those words have negative connotations, and a lot of us think that something has gone wrong if we've failed or made a mistake. When really, those failures or mistakes were just learning opportunities. When you are experimenting, you're trying things out, things don't go the way that you expected. When you finally have a win and you have success, it feels incredible. It makes all of those previous failures and mistakes feel so much more worth it because you got the success that you were aiming for. In a way, celebration helps you acknowledge all of the discomfort, all of the obstacles, all of the challenges that you have overcome that led to this point. Otherwise, you might easily try to forget those experiences or avoid them and pretend that they didn't happen at all. Celebrating helps you put a silver lining on things that didn't go well in the past because you learned from them. Celebrating helps you create resilience. Resilience is the part of us that helps us bounce back when things have gone wrong, and it helps us move through challenging situations quickly, efficiently, and with power. When you celebrate, you build up your resilience because celebration allows you to reinforce your identity as someone who overcomes obstacles, as someone who figures it out, as someone who solves problems. The more you celebrate, the more resilience you build. Celebration also helps you complete cycles. When you celebrate, you actually get to tie the bow. You get to have that final note at the end of the song. You get to see the end and the epilogue or the final post-credit scene of your goal. When you celebrate, you are telling your brain that loop is complete. This story is done, and I'm ready to move on to the next story. Celebration is what helps us release some of that pent up stress and emotion that we've carried with us as we've been very uncomfortable moving towards this goal. When you celebrate the goal, you get to let go of all of that emotion you've been carrying. It helps you feel lighter, it helps you feel more free, and you get to complete that cycle. Which leads me to my last point, that celebration then frees up your energy. When you complete your cycle, you've reached your goal, you've created your vision, you then have energy to put into the next one. You have energy to put towards the next project, towards the next hard conversation, towards the next goal, towards the next relationship. When you celebrate, you have more energy to give to the next thing. Of course, as we're talking about celebrations, I have to share success stories from recent client sessions and packages. This is the episode to celebrate so that you can see what's possible for you as well. One of my clients started out her coaching package wanting to build trust in herself. She had built up this story in previous years that she was a supporting character in her life, that she was there to help other people, that other people made decisions and she just went along with it. If she didn't have any structure, even though it's what her heart and her soul were really pulling her towards, she couldn't trust herself to make good decisions. Over the course of our coaching together, she has gone from a 2 or a 3 trust in herself to a 7 or an 8 trust in herself just within a 3-month period. We continue to build on that session by session as she builds more proof that she can trust herself. This is a huge win, and how we did it was acknowledging at the beginning of every single session what she had done so that she could soak in the process along the way. That's how she got from a 2 or a 3 to a 7 or an 8. That's a 50 to 60% increase. That is so much change over such a short period of time, just 1/4 of a year. She did that by seeing that the actions she'd taken built that proof that she can trust herself, that she does follow through, and that no matter what decision she makes, She knows that she can do it because she's been doing it all along. My next client is having wins every single week. Her goal is to be more productive in her home and not just in her business. Previously, she was in this dichotomy between working or resting. Since then, we've created this nuance where she's working for other people, she's resting, or she's working for herself. She doesn't have to do a ton of work for herself in order to get huge benefits from it, but she wants her home to feel organized. She wants it to be a peaceful environment, which for sensitive and highly sensitive people is so important. We need environments that make us feel safe and comfortable, where we can rest our nervous systems and rest our minds and recharge ourselves. Environments are crucial. Clutter or unfinished projects can weigh on our minds and really pull our energy down. Every single time this client completes a project, whether that's cleaning up the piles of paper under the window in the living room, whether that's moving things that have gathered on the dining room table and putting them into their appropriate homes throughout the house, the more she celebrates, the more she wants to continue those projects, and those areas of her home are staying tidy. They're staying clear. She's literally in the process of building an environment that supports her rest and her peace. She's winning every single time and maintaining those wins. This is so much progress and it builds over time. I am so excited for the day that everything is in its home and she can enjoy being at home, resting with just a little bit of maintenance. I know that that's possible. I have another client who, anytime she starts to get stuck, we've been working on her leadership skills. She did not see herself as a leader. She doubted her ability and her opinions of things because she didn't have as much education as other people, or she didn't have as much work experience as other people. But that woman has gone through some tough stuff, and she is one of the best relationship builders I have ever seen. Anytime she feels stuck, whether that's growing her business, having a hard conversation, or following through on a goal, we always come back to who she wants to be as a leader. What can her experience do to help other people? How can she use each opportunity as a learning experience that she can then use to help someone else? Her growing her identity as a leader shows up every single session by her changing her thoughts, showing up differently, going out and talking to people and making those connections, and creating spaces where other people feel safe. That is what reinforces her identity as a leader, and it continues to grow every single session. I am so thrilled about it. My last client success story that I really want to celebrate is my client who overcomes obstacles. Speaking of someone who's scrappy, her identity has to do with coming from a really, really tough childhood and overcoming that to create incredible things in her life. She has lived in multiple countries. She's learned a few languages fluently, and she has gone after scholarships and learning opportunities that were highly competitive and won. She's gone after positions for employment that have been very competitive and gotten them, but now she's building a business. Every single time she overcomes an obstacle, she's reinforcing for herself that she can be that person. She's not sacrificing her entire identity every time something goes wrong. Every time something goes wrong, it's another opportunity for her to create that hero story, that she's resilient, that she's resourceful, that she knows how to overcome problems, and she does it every single day. I am so proud of all of them, and I hope you can resonate with those stories as well. From here, there are 3 areas that I want you to consider when you're celebrating. I imagine that one of these 3 areas will feel easier for you than the others. In that case, lean into the one that feels really good, and then just add on one. This is how expansion works. You want to keep doing the thing that works well, then you add on top of it. The 3 areas are physical, emotional, and thoughts, because I like the acronym PET. The physical ways that you can celebrate are to feel your emotions in your body. This is the actual sensations. Think about a time when you have been so proud of yourself. You accomplished something that you are so excited about, and you couldn't wait to share it with other people. I have a recent example of this too. When I got into my high level mastermind, I feel so exhilarated by this experience. What does that feel like in your body? Is there a lightness? Is there a sense of bubbliness or floatiness? Do you feel it in your stomach? Do you feel it in your back or your shoulders? Do you feel it in your throat or your head or your chest? Do you feel it in your legs? Do you have a sense of motion, like you can't wait to go and be active? What does that feel like in your body? And feel the sensations of it from the inside and from the outside. A body scan would be a perfect way to feel this sense of celebration. And the very simple version of a body scan is to start at the top of your head and then slowly move down your body, paying attention to each body part as you move down. You think about the top of your head, you think about the front of your head and your face, your nose, your mouth, your chin. You might think about the back of your head coming down towards your neck. You're looking for sensations in each part of your body as you slowly move down. When you find those sensations, sit with them for a minute. Feel the emotions in your body. This is part of how you soak it in. When you can feel that sense of celebration, and you feel it in your body, it starts to become a felt memory. It's something that you can embody. You feel it in your body. When you need to pull it again to create momentum for something in the future and overcome those obstacles, then you can feel it in your body and you can summon up that sense. Our imaginations are so powerful as humans. You can conjure up how it feels to celebrate and to win. You can bring that into your next experiences and you have faster and easier success. Another physical example is to high five someone else, or you can high five the mirror. I know it has become a big trend over the last couple of years with Mel Robbins' book. High fiving yourself signals to your brain that you are celebrating. Your brain can't tell the difference between you high fiving someone else or you high fiving your reflection in the mirror. It gives you the same response. The next one is clapping. We clap for things that we're excited about. We clap when someone scores a goal. We clap when we've seen a really beautiful musical performance or a dance performance. We clap when we love something. The standing ovation is the sign that people have loved an experience. That's a celebration. If you're looking for an easy way and you're in an environment where it won't be disruptive, try clapping for yourself and being so excited that you won because you did. Another example would be a fist pump or a fist bump. A fist bump is when you bump fists with someone else. Fist pump is when you're moving your fists up and down in the air. This is the universal sign for, yay, we won. This signals to your brain that something is going well. Maybe you dance. Dancing has always been a way of celebrating. It's a way of emoting. You can express yourself with dancing. So maybe you have a dance party in the middle of the day to celebrate your win. Jumping up and down creates a lot of momentum for us, and we jump when we're excited. Think about things that little kids do when they're feeling their emotions and they're expressing them. When you look at a little kid or a baby, when they're expressing excitement, they're smiling at you. Maybe they're clapping. Maybe they are wiggling their arms. Little kids love to jump around. They love to run around. Tapping into some of those innate childhood expressions of physical celebration can be so powerful for us as adults, and it doesn't take that much. Just a little bit of motion creates the same response in your body as doing a huge celebration. You could do a verbal component to your celebration. This is when you're shouting for joy, you're woohooing, you're saying, yes, or I did it. That verbal part is so satisfying. And you get the kinesthetic or movement component of actually forming the words, but you also get the auditory reinforcement of hearing it in your own voice. Yes, I did that. That is so powerful. Whether you're whooping or shouting or woohooing or just a big yes, that is such a visceral experience of celebration. Coming back to the emotional part, I told you about how to feel the sensations in your body, but the emotional part that I want you to consider is your emotional vocabulary. There are thousands of words, and as a former English major, I will tell you that words have power. The actual meaning of a word will create nuance for you. People who have more extensive, robust, powerful vocabularies actually are able to feel emotions more intensely and then let them go easier on the other side because you know how to label it. You know how to create awareness. The more vocabulary you have around your emotions and connecting those to the physical sensations in your body, the more powerful your experience of those celebrations. To give you some examples, some emotions that go along with celebration are joy, happiness, excitement, pride, power, confidence. Those are some of the easier ones that a lot of us are familiar with. But I want you to take this a step further, highly sensitive person, because I know that that subtlety and that nuance is really interesting to you. When you can start to feel these sensations in your body and have the words to describe them, you start to experience this really interesting kind of celebration that takes everything to the next level. These are emotions like satisfied, fulfilled, intentional, aligned, purposeful, vibrant, exhilarated, alive, and unstoppable. Imagine when you think those words or when you say those words out loud. What do those feel like in your body? Do you have a felt sense of those words, those emotions? Can you describe them to someone else? What does it feel like to feel satisfied or fulfilled or intentional? Those are the kind of emotions that really take your celebrations to that next level and help you gain more momentum, recognize your progress, and overcome obstacles. The third component, of course, is your thoughts. So many of us have thoughts that we need to just move on. Oh, that's great. I did that. Now I'm moving on. I want you to slow down. Think about thoughts that come up when you're celebrating. Maybe you can think about someone else if it's hard right now to tap into that for yourself. Think about when you're celebrating someone else. You could say, wow, you did that. Good job. This is amazing. Those are the same thoughts and words that you can say for yourself. Good job. That's amazing. I'm so proud of you. I did that. I figured that out. I overcame that obstacle. I am really impressed with myself. These are things that I say so you can hear them in my tone of voice. Wow, I am so proud of myself. I can't believe that. That is so cool. My efforts paid off. I overcame those challenges. Look at me go. I received this. I know what to do, and I knew what to do. I figured it out. I am owning my part of this situation. Think about how those thoughts feel when you're celebrating. Those are powerful thoughts. Sometimes you need some ladder thoughts that can help you get from the thoughts at the bottom of the ladder, like, oh, it was just luck, it was just a fluke. The thoughts at the top of the ladder are things like, wow, I'm so impressed with myself. My efforts paid off. I really did that. If you're having trouble bridging that gap, there are steps in between that you can use, like maybe I did a better job than I thought I did. It's possible that I can repeat this process again in the future. I can believe that I did a good job. I'm open to the idea that I can figure this out again. All of those sentence stems. Maybe. It's possible. I can believe. I'm open to the idea. You can put those in front of any of your desired thoughts, and suddenly your brain is like, okay, I think I can get on board with this. I actually believe this. If it's feeling difficult to celebrate and to try on some of these new thoughts, maybe some of these latter thoughts and sentence stems can help you start to tap into that celebration. Over time, you can actually build the skill of celebrating. It is a skill just like any other. It might be out of practice, it might be a little weak at the moment, but you can get better at it at any time. I also want to offer you as a bonus, if you are woo-woo like I am, there's an energetic component to celebrating that you can take to the next level if you're so inclined. This could be acknowledging and expressing gratitude with a little prayer or a spell or a meditation. This might be a visualization. One of my favorite visualizations comes from the University of California, Berkeley, and their Positive Habits Lab, where they ask you to imagine soaking in an experience. You close your eyes and imagine a sensation of something pouring over your head. This could be something like light. And everywhere that light flows down your body, it's infusing every cell with this experience and this emotion of celebration. These kinds of visualizations can help you build up your celebration and feel it in a different way than just the physical movement of it. This is the kind of visualization where you use your creativity and your imagination to literally soak up all of the experience and own it. It then becomes infused with your very being. That was your bonus step. Whether you take a physical celebration, an emotional celebration by labeling the emotion, or you have new thoughts that you're trying on that allow you to own it, every step counts. Every step along the way is a good time to celebrate, and every step that you take to celebrate builds up the skill of being able to acknowledge your wins. Small steps are what add up to big successes. I talked about this in a recent episode about how to turn your big goals into small steps. This is how your goals happen. They don't just happen overnight. You don't just flip a switch and suddenly you're successful. It's each of these small steps along the way that celebrating can help pull you towards those big successes. The more you celebrate along the way, the more likely you are to cross the finish line. The less you celebrate, the more likely you are to give up before you've started. Celebrating has so many benefits, and there are so many easy ways to do it. Whether it's a physical celebration, an emotional celebration, a thought celebration, or an energetic celebration. You might even have some ideas for things that work really well for you that I didn't even cover in this episode. Whatever works for you, the more regularly you celebrate and acknowledge your wins and allow yourself to see what didn't go well, the easier it is for you to build your momentum and work towards your goals. This builds on the previous episode about evaluation, which also builds on the previous episode about how to create a clean slate. The more you celebrate, the more opportunities you create for yourself, and the more you can build up your identity and your self-concept as someone who meets your goals and someone who can do hard things and overcome them every single step of the way. Part of celebrating is being able to let go of things, take the juice out of it, and then move forward, acknowledging all of the good things that you got from previous experiences. If you're interested, go to stephanielynn.com/closing. I will also put that in the show notes so that you can join my free workshop on how to close out old energy. This is a ceremony that I put together for myself, and I wanted to share it with my clients because I found that they were getting stuck in old energy. It helps you tie the knot on old experiences, extract the lessons, and let them go with all of these components. Then you can celebrate all of the lessons that you've gained along the way. And of course, if you would like help learning how to celebrate and grow this skill, in addition to maybe trusting yourself more or tapping into your leadership or acknowledging your own resilience, I would love to help you. You can go to stephanielynn.com and book a consultation call to have that conversation. Thank you so much for joining me on this episode, Highly Sensitive Person. I can't wait to hear how this landed with you and how you're incorporating more celebrations into your day-to-day life. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you on the next one.
Thanks for listening. If you're ready to take what you learned today to the next level, head over to stephanielynn, that's LINN.com, and book a consultation call to get started. I can't wait to see you there, my dear HSP.